and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. Today's video is sponsored by our Amazon affiliate link, which you'll see in the comment section below. You'll also see in the description below links to any videos that I mention in this video. So a common question that I get from viewers and readers is, I forgot to water my houseplant, is it going to be okay? So sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. The good news is a lot of houseplants, yes, they will be okay. They will survive the drought. Of course, it depends on how bad it is. I mean, if you've forgotten the plant and it's bone dry and all crinkled up and all brown, well, no, it's not probably going to come back. But you could get a little regrowth at the base and then you could grow the plant again. But at that point, it's probably a goner. However, if you find the plant and it's drooping and you know it needs water and you water it, a lot of times it will come back. A lot of plants will come back for you. The one that's notorious for springing back and amazing you is the peace lily. So this guy right here, beautiful peace lily with the pretty flowers, and I do have a video on growing this one too. And this one is amazing in that it will be really droopy, and you may think, oh my gosh, it's a goner. You water the peace lily, and within about an hour to 2 or 3 hours, it will have sprung back. So that one will definitely come back for you. One that is notorious for not coming back for you much or not coming back all the way is a maidenhair fern. Maidenhair ferns are very delicate and very picky. I have a video on that too. And they will, if they do come back, they usually are about half of the foliage dies off. So you'll have to prune it. You may have to put it into a smaller pot at that point, and then it can regrow. So most houseplants will regrow even when you drought them. Some, like this is a really pretty Pothos here, variegated Pothos. This one actually did get a little bit of a droughting recently. I had meant to water it one day and then forgot until the next day, so it was a little bit compromised. What will happen with things like Pothos and some other plants when they are droughted is they will lose some foliage after the droughting. So keep that in mind. Don't be alarmed if they do. And you may, at first they may look okay, but then you may notice after a few days, even though once the plant is looking okay again, that some of the leaves start to brown and fall off. So that is what may happen. You can just go ahead and remove the leaves, and if you need to, you can do a little pruning, but don't over prune because you've already stressed the plant. So better off just to remove the leaves that didn't make it for now and let the plant sit for a while. And make sure to water it on a regular basis and wait until it's stronger before any pruning or any repotting as well. Unless after the plant dies back, it's lost so much foliage that it no longer has the 2/3 plant to 1/3 pot ratio, which I always talk about. If the plant has maybe half of the foliage is gone and you've got this little plant in too big a pot, you're going to have to repot sooner than later. But if it's just some leaf loss, just let the plant recover from the droughting and then see if you need to repot later or prune and that sort of thing. A lot of plants, especially they have heavier, sturdier foliage, like the Dracaenas. The Dracaenas do really well actually with getting droughted. So, and they do like things on the dry side. I have a video on growing them. So they respond fairly well to being droughted, and there's often not very much damage from not getting enough water with the Dracaenas. African violets do like to be kept on the moist side. So what happens with the African violets when they get consistently, you can drought a plant maybe once or so and a lot of plants will spring back. There won't be hardly any damage, but if you're consistently droughting certain plants, especially African violets, they are going to stop flowering for you, number one, and then the growth will slow down. And then once that happens, the plants become more susceptible to pests and diseases. So you do want to try to keep your plants watered, and of course you know that, otherwise you probably wouldn't be watching this video in the first place. One thing to keep in mind when a plant has been droughted and you water it, a really good thing to do is bottom water the plant when you go to water it. And I have a video on that. And the bottom watering, what that refers to, show you with this African violet here, is you will put the pot, the dried out pot, into another pot, another vessel, where you can add water, and you put the plant into it, and the plant will soak up from the bottom the water and get very well hydrated when you do that. And what's great about that is the plant has been so dried out that, if you've droughted it, right, the soil has been so dried out that this will really rehydrate the soil. If you just water from the top, which is a tendency after you've droughted a plant, when you say, and you run to the sink and you start watering it, what has happened a lot of the times is that there's crevices within the soil and the water will just run through, and it's not going to saturate the roots like you really need to do at this point in time. So you want to really get it soaked up nice. So leave it in there in the vessel of water for a while. Now, we're not talking like overnight, but you might want to leave it up to as much as a half an hour, 45 minutes, even an hour. You definitely want to leave the plant in the water until all the air bubbles stop. When you put it in, you see bubble, bubble, bubble. Those are indications of air pockets in the soil that you definitely want to get rid of, dry air pockets, so you definitely want to get rid of that. So make sure you water it really well. Now, plant all the plants I mentioned, the peace lily, springing back fairly quickly within an hour to 3 hours. Other plants will not, so keep that in mind. Pothos don't spring back sometimes for a week. So if you've droughted a plant and you've watered it, you've done the bottom watering, you got it nice and soaked, take it out of that, put it back where it belongs, and give it some encouraging words. And the next day it still doesn't look good, especially if it's something like a pothos and some other sort of spider plant, another one that may take a while. Give it at least a week and to see if it's going to spring back for you. So there's sometimes people will give it a day and then think, oh my gosh, and then you don't want to look at the damage, so you toss the plant, but actually the plant may have come back. I've had many people tell me that there was one couple that had their special plant that they've been married for 25 years, a special plant, their love plant, and they had forgotten about it. And then they found, I'm trying to remember what the plant was. It was a common house plant type. They had forgotten about it. They were moving. Everything got kind of crazy. Forgot about it. Didn't water it. They were freaking out because their love plant looked horrible. They watered the plant, and the plant came back to life, and the plant is even bigger than it was before. So that was the first time they had ever not watered their plant. So like I said, a lot of times plants are very forgiving. They will come back for you if you make a little mistake or so. Where you're really going to start running into problems is if you're consistently not watering, and if that's the case, you need to figure out how to get these plants watered in time for you. So, and there are some tips and tricks you can do for that. For one, having the plants more in your view so that you'll be reminded to water them, and various little tips and tricks like that. So that is it for today. Thank you for stopping by. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.